It's been here before.
I'll try and company up.
Whenever you're ready, you can call the meeting to order.
Okay. Well, we'll call together the Desert Healthcare District Finance, Legal, Administration, Real Estate Committee meeting, March 11th, 2025 at 3 p.m. All order. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Next item is the meeting minutes.
All those in favor?
yeah. Oh, we have to do that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Next section, meeting minutes from last February. Having a motion to approve the.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll open up for any comments,
No public comment.
board comments. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Administration Real Estate Committee meeting, March 11th. Live. All right, next section, public comments. At this time, comments from the audience may be made on items not listed on the agenda that are of public interest and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district. The committee has a policy of limiting speakers to not more than 3 minutes. The committee cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda. Public input may be offered on an agenda item when it comes up for discussion and or action. Are there any public comments at this time?
No public comment.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to the next section. We'll go over to the Chief Executive Officer's report. Chris?
No items to report at this time. Thank you.
Great. Next section, Chief Administration Officer report. Eric?
Yes, and I'm going to be referencing the packet or the page numbers in the full PDF package just for reference. So I'm looking at page 12. On page 12. So what we have is we're still 100% occupied. Anticipated rent is still staying the same at the $1,549,008. We will be conducting our annual common area maintenance reconciliation this month, and we'll bring those results back to the April committee meeting. What we do each year is just review what the actual costs were and then settle up with the tenants. Either if there's a balance due, we'll invoice them, or if there would happen to be a credit due, then we would have those available to apply, with any adjustment in the rates being applied as of April 1st. So we'll bring that info back next month once we complete our full reconciliation. And that's all I have on my my report.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are we routinely 100% occupied?
No, we've had it just twice in the last several years.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah, it's only been in the last maybe 6-7 years that we were above, like 70%.
Last year,
There were several years that they were, yeah.
And why? Do you think that's a broker thing? Do you think that's just the
That
environment's
was a
changed?
spell of managing.
Yeah,
Very good job.
I don't know, and I think it's just become so much more popular due to the access to the hospital.
Oh.
So we get a lot of providers that are back and forth across the streets and.
That's good. Well done. Right.
And it's also due to Eric, his charisma.
Well, that's probably waiting for somebody to.
And you guys are
Sorry on
good,
that.
good lecture.
We'll also open it up for any public comments at this time.
There are no public comment.
Board? Okay. No action to be taken. All right, next section, financial reports. I'd like to just kind of go through all these unless there's one individual anybody wants to pull out, and then we'll approve them all at the end. Is that good? Okay. Go ahead, Eric. District and LPN.
so if we're going through them sequentially, that's no problem. I've got certain pages where I've got notes on there.
Good, why don't you
Throw
just go to
out.
those? Unless there's somebody else who wants to pull something up.
Okay, I'm taking the same methodology as we did last month.
Yeah.
Just kind of highlighting any of the changes that we've had. That way we're not duplicating similar conversations that we may have already had. Although this one's similar. So the key on page 15 is this is our variance report that's over 25,000 to budget. We just wanted to notate we're over $1 million up right now on the property tax revenues year to date. As far as the other variances for income and expenses, there's just a few categories I would note. Under the 6445 for the LP MP expense, we do have a few lines which are lower than anticipated. We've got tenant depreciation expense is lower than anticipated, as some of the tenants haven't used the provided tenant improvement allowance. So we budgeted assuming everybody would utilize it, but they have not. Some of them choose to do so at various points throughout the lease, so it's not uncommon in that situation, but that is one of the elements that's under budget so far. We've also had lower interior building expenses. So this particular one, just we had prepared for the potential for any flooding expense, which we had kind of last couple of years. So far this year, everything's been going a little differently. So we are working on an invitation to bid for a regrade on the Tachiva side, which is facing the hospital, where we had the landscaping done. We need to get that regraded and do some of the drains a little differently to avoid any flooding when we get any little bit of rain, as we all know, causes a lot of havoc down here. So we'll be looking at doing that in the near future. And once we do that, that would be something we bring back to the committee for approval. And we have had lower professional services expense. That's another one here, this the line 6,500. A lot of it's related to the hospital lease, just having lower expenses regarding the professional expenses on that, and then having higher legal expenses due to the hospital lease. So those were the specific items I wanted to note on this page here.
Here, a quick question.
Sure.
Although the security expenses are lower, we're still being the same, doing the same type of security. Right here. at Lawrence.
Yes, we just, it's a minimal expense lower there, but yeah, we budget just slightly above in case there was something else that we had going on as opposed to just using the contract value.
Okay.
And then I don't have anything until page 19. Just going through our income statements, which was pretty much summarized in that variance report. Let's see.
On the revenue side, do you expect the county to be less than it was in the past? Because real estate prices are kind of stabilized? Or do you not have any intuition about that?
It's hard to say, but I mean, I think there's some lag in like the property assessments and that, you know, that over the next period. So
So you
I
feel
don't
it's likely
see
to
it.
go down, not up? Or what do you think?
I haven't seen it like from prior experience. I haven't seen it drop much.
You haven't seen them? Okay.
It just depends on how many sales, right? Because you don't really get your property tax reappraised or
Right.
reassessed
Mhm.
until you
And
sell.
we're gonna be in situation with more and more homes that are being built where that's gonna have a property tax value
There's
too.
a lot, like Catino comes online
Right.
and all that. It's,
So even though maybe some property values might
Go down.
level out or something, overall,
In my
the tax
district, I think
revenue.
it's not going crazy.
And
yeah, your district is building a lot, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be 15, 20,000 houses.
They have a
on
power, they have a
the
power problem.
Yeah, sure.
Offline conversation, but
I'm sure.
right.
There's a project going on, just so you know, behind the sheriff's station on Gerald Ford. That when you come at it from a different point of view, it looks like it's a 500 acre, 600 acre project.
Mhm.
That it's just at grading level now, so amazing.
It's just mind boggling to me, especially with the water issue.
Yeah, water and power.
And
power, the water they have, they just don't have the,
you know, for long term. I was worried about that.
yeah, we're not wrong.
We budgeted conservatively over the last few years and then received more of an increase than we expected. And so this year's budget was about 10%, which was higher than we had been budgeting as far as an increase, and we're still exceeding that for this.
By the way, Les Engel always had a fear of the county re-budgeting us downward. Was that just him and his sense of doom, or do you see that as a potential, all things going forward?
I would be more concerned about at some point the county trying to make a play to take over all of our
Everything.
resources
Correct,
Really?
that's my concern.
versus them,
Really,
you know,
downsizing.
repurposing
Yeah.
the taxes. I've always, you know, because there's two components to the property taxes. There's the regular, you know, property taxes, and then there's the redevelopment component too. And I've always wondered how that really works and if that ultimately reduces in time, but we haven't seen any reduction to that either.
So is there, it's funny that we all came up with the same, I think we're all kind of wondering what happens in 2027. Does that, the hospital no longer being, a lease, and whether that still gives us the right to be able to have the property taxes? So is there any way that we could get something as we start going into the strategic planning process later this year? Do we just wait until 2027 to find that out, or do we get something in advance? That way we can plan if we need to have, some understanding of what are the risks? Do we need to start thinking about building a hospital in the East End?
I mean, that may be a topic for the.
So since this is a legal issue and we're thinking about this, I was gonna wait, I've been wanting,
Planning.
Well-
I've been wanting to talk to you about this for the last
Yeah.
couple of months, as I mentioned to you before, but I don't know when is the appropriate time.
And speaking with Bruce Underwood, you know, who's now LAFCO commissioner or whatever. Because see, that's where my concern comes in, is like how LAFCO deems us. Because I think the county gets some communication from LAFCO. And, Bruce's feel on it is that, and that's why I've been pushing so hard to not just push to do a 5-year strategic plan and start just doing things, but that we have a long range goals and objectives, because that's his belief is as long as the district is being prudent managers of those resources and has great plans in place how to not only manage the resources, but to do good things with the resources, that holds a strong edge.
think
when
that's
it
one
comes to
part
the
of it, though.
political part of.
That's one part of it, but the other part of it is, are we required to have a hospital? And if we don't have a hospital anymore, do we have to start planning in part of our strategic plan to put money aside to build a hospital? Because we may not need it now, but in 20 years from now, and this is why the county snuck in that language that they put in the lease, that some of that money could be used for operations of a hospital. So I just think, when I asked the question, when do we start talking about it? And you said during the strategic planning process, I don't think that is the right time to do it, because in order to plan during the strategic planning, we need to know if we need to take into account a hospital in the future.
Well, I mean, if I'm hearing your question right, we're not required to have a hospital. I think we've always talked about it that, because there's several districts that don't have hospitals and they still operate. But what's always been said before too is that, in my opinion, without the ownership of the hospital, I think the district is vulnerable to somebody wanting to come in and take over those resources.
Mhm.
Because that's where it comes into play,
Yeah,
that
so
we
that-
have to have a very solid, strong plan for the future beyond us.
So it does
Here in
leave us
this room.
vulnerable. So that's really good to know, because I think that as we go into the strategic, but now that I felt okay with waiting,
Yes.
if you're pretty firm on
We have
that,
to,
then we can wait.
we have to address what you're addressing, which is relevancy and how we are adding value.
Mhm.
That's the strategic plan.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
we're doing some things now with Alejandro that you may not need a physical building. You may just need to have the ability to open up access quicker and better than anybody else. That's what you're currently doing, those mobile clinics.
Yeah, but I'm thinking 20 years down the road. 20 years down the road, what do we really look as a long-term vision? And is JFK sufficient to address the growing population on that end? So what do we need to do now to be able to prepare for that? Do we need to start putting money aside to be able to make an investment of property, kind of like what Palm Desert did with UCR Palm Desert here. They put 100 acres aside 30 years ago
Mm,
and made it possible where Cal State could come in. So do we have to start thinking that long into it, but putting money aside for
absolutely.
some property? So that
Absolutely.
way we can entice somebody, whatever partner, and it just gives us so yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Absolutely, and that's why I've been trying to emphasize that the strategic planning process that's coming up is all about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Way into the future, what kind of goals and objectives do we have beyond us and for those in the future? Because we don't want to sabotage, directors and staff, 20, 30 years from
Right.
now.
Mhm.
That's the foundation for why I've been arguing for the need to have futurists prepare us academically, so to speak, before we even sit down to have a meeting or strategic planning meeting. Because if you stop and think about what did we do in our last meeting? We all said, let's brainstorm and let's see what we think is right. And you said A, and you said B, and you said C, and I said D. And then we all voted, well, D is the highest thing, so no. I think if we approach it from that perspective, we got the wrong level of amplification. If indeed you're right, if the amplification is 20 years out from now, I want to hear from somebody who is so far ahead of me in my thought process that it sounds almost sci-fi-ish to use that analogy, because if you stop and think about it, science fiction is really the foundation for all future engineering successes in the world. Who ever heard of a Dick Tracy race watch? Only if you read a comic book in 1945 when it was absurd. It was absurd. I want to hear from the guy who's talking about the next Dick Tracy wristwatch. So that's
In
why
addition to what Letty said, that was something that also came up during the Legislative Policy Committee meeting. If we get the support for the freestanding clinics, that Dr. Kumar, who's with Desert Care Network, mentioned the freestandings as almost like mini hospitals with surgical centers and things like that, similar to what you're referring to, but not a full hospital, but something like more mini hospitals. Right, exactly. But more,
With additional rooms.
yeah,
But that's more.
and more surgical, the
That's
more,
not
the more.
That 20 years down, that's looking the next 5 to 10 years, maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
That's more like
And all
closer to.
all of these things that we're talking about are gonna be great for,
Okay, sorry, I don't want to take us away, but I just.
Yeah, but let me say one other thing.
it's very valid. I mean,
5 years ago, I read a journal article in a medical journal about something going on somewhere in one of the research facilities in Israel that was effectively a full body scanner as a foundation for doing non-invasive surgery. And that was about 5 years ago, and it sounded crazy. It sounded absolutely crazy. And it's pretty much on the cusp of what's coming in the next 5 years.
mhm.
So there's a reality check to this, as crazy as the Dick Tracy watch sounds.
Yeah. And that's why I also think it's important, and I've been scheduling to meet with our lawmakers in that too, so that we have that open, strong communication with them, because they're the ones that are potentially could change up things.
Yeah.
If they get the attention of the county or somebody along the
There's
way.
a lot of players. I mean, there's the people that are on the engineering front. There's people on the, the building structures. Like there's people that already have the market analysis of what's going to happen. Right? That data is available. People are preparing utilities now for the future build. So people have a lot of that information. I think part of what we'll have to do is gather those people together from each avenue, right? So you want somebody futuristic on tech, where's healthcare going? Somebody around where's this area going in terms of housing, population growth, what the needs going to be, and then the lawmakers, like who around here can help us understand the policies that are out there and what may need to change so that we can meet our strategic plan goals.
Yeah.
That's why we have the legislative policy committee.
I think that's a very wise group. Eric, go ahead.
Sure. All right, so page 19, this is just our Las Palmas Medical Plaza income statement here. Just wanted to highlight that we have year-to-date 319,000 net income on a budget of 93. So we're doing well on that front, primarily due to those expenses I was referring to earlier so far this year. I don't have a whole lot to note until page 26. The balance sheets we have going on there. Aging summary, we're doing well. So page 26. Okay, I want to note about midway down the page, we do have a payment which shows a transfer from South Coast to AQMD. I just wanted to note that we had a combined payment from them, which included a grant payment that was received on the foundation side. So the reason for the transfer, they just happened to combine both the checks instead of having one of the district and one of the foundation. So we don't often have the transfers from foundations with somebody else's name on there. So that was a different item. And so we did finally get that from South Coast, which was for the summit that we had
Usually
done.
the other way around. We transfer money to the foundation.
Oh, yes, yeah, this was, it's done that way. And then, it's not much, but we did get our first quarterly rebate there, about $298, just since switching the credit cards to the CalCard program, so
You get them on monthly?
it is a quarterly,
Yeah.
so it was the first one that we're inching into, as we got, the new cards online for a lot of our existing expenses, and then, with the policy that we had update last month with the ACH, we're starting to get those already set up. That way we can get a little bit more, not gonna be monumental,
So
but
we
at
won't
least
have these paper checks anymore?
we're
Eventually.
working. Yeah. We've got some of the categories that were in the policy, and then I want to do a little more research, but I think we're taking the right steps to set us up once I can confirm to make that update at some point. in the future.
It's not far off.
Okay. It's not like, the futuristic thing, 20 years down the road.
We've reached that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the property taxes, we already referred to, being up over the million, year to date. Got, let's see,
Tracy also married somebody from the moon.
It's coming. Space Force
She
already.
had little antennas for ears.
then we have deposits and check registers. I didn't have anything to note till page 34. On all my credit card.
I have, the QuickBooks expense, that's the actual physical payroll, the distribution of checks.
Yes.
The service cost is right above that 648, right? Okay.
The 648, which, page are you looking at?
That was. Yeah, I'm checking the amount of 648. There's no, it's right above 5865 void.
So.
That's,
Look at the void.
We have
Oh, there
two
it is.
separate payrolls. The first
Okay,
payroll
the
is
other
just
again.
for a part-time employee,
Here it is.
and then we do a second.
Oh, so the 648 is not a service charge.
No, it's
It's a payroll. It's an actual payroll.
correct.
Okay.
the computer work, the SoCal computer, the $4,000 payment, was that for the upgrade for the Zoom room?
That was
That was
the
the total
first.
cost?
No, it ended up being closer by 8.
Oh, okay. With the second upgrade, the second camera, 8,000?
Out there, I won't get that exact number, but
Just curious to see.
that was the
more or less.
deposit to get that. the
Good
equipment
feedback
purchased.
though from others.
Everything
Yeah.
compatible now.
Yeah.
I know it took us a little bit to get there, so appreciate it.
People were watching and they had good feedback from them too. It was a very good upgrade, very well worth it. Yeah.
Eric, page 30, what's a health reimbursement payment to Erica Husky, 5854?
That is similar to what we do with some of the directors, where she doesn't participate in the district plan.
I see,
So
okay,
part of it ends up being
okay.
reimbursed.
And I have one more thing. Yeah, I don't understand page 33. Why we're paying the county tax collector $36,000.
That's our, page
We're
33.
moving on.
It's for the medical plaza.
We pay them for that?
Yeah, because we own the building.
Yeah,
And then, but part of the CAM charges to the counties incorporates some of that. So we get reimbursed, but the district owns the building. Las Palmas Medical Plaza.
Yeah.
So we pay the property tax to the county.
I see. Okay. So it's really just the transfer process, you know.
Yeah, so we pay the county and then we get
Okay,
some from. the-
okay. Thank you. I had one other item here. Yeah, I had one other item, and I thought I did, hold on. Maybe I'm wrong. You better write that down. then.
Oh, yeah. right.
You
That
sure
was
will.
wrong the first time ever.
I think that's all I have.
Page 34, this is our CEO discretionary fund. I just wanted to notate, we did transfer a couple of these sponsorships out. That's why the dollar value is lower this time than what we had previously. Now that we have that new sponsorship line, we'll start utilizing that going forward for the rest of this fiscal year. And then when preparing the next fiscal year, we'll have an actual sponsorship budget that will cover the entirety of the year.
So the other night when we were, just on Saturday, and you made the $5,000 donation, is that gonna be covered here next month or this month?
Next month. So when it actually comes through on the expense.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
You should get the credit card statement on the 25th of the month, and so we'll
Okay,
all the charges up to that point will be documented as of the 25th. Unless that falls on. Let's see, page.
And that one will have to be a reimbursement to me because I'd already given them.
I'm so jealous that you
I'll
got
have
those
the
points.
receipt. and then I can send it to him.
And never mind my credit card, though.
Yeah,
Will be
no
where we
worries.
get the reimbursement.
Okay.
On page 35, just want to know, this is for the retirement protection plan. We didn't have any total number of participants change, but we did have 2 of the active get moved over to vested. And then we should have 2 of those processed this month. We're just waiting for a couple last pieces of documentation to get them done. So slow, but working on it. And on page 36, which is the last page of the financials here, just noting after last month's awards, we're at about 2.8 million remaining for this fiscal year.
And that's with the million that we gave to St. John's?
Yes, last month we had the 1.5
I
total,
see it.
and that was all I wanted to note specifically.
But I just want to bring to your attention, maybe it will soften the blow for next month, but we had in our budget for the board election fees,
Yeah,
you know, for the county,
They're bad. I know.
budget of 250,000, and we got the invoice today at 600 and some odd thousand.
almost
That was the
$700,000.
cost of the election, of running the election.
Because we had the three
Three,
full
Yeah, but still,
director. Yours, there wasn't too much because you ran
Just
in
for AA.
opposed.
AA was
And
242, yeah.
then AA
Is that part
was
of
like
the
200 and some odd thousand just below.
What do we get for that? A printed document? You know, with your name on it?
You get a
Just an
seat on
Hey,
the.
hey,
Well, no, I mean, what do they do? for that money?
Hey.
Just running the election, the administration of running the
The
election.
administration.
You're paying for the county clerk,
Right.
everybody that gets hired to run the
Wow.
election. All those people that work the polls,
Wow.
They put my name on that invoice, Chris, maybe I need an increase.
Yeah.
So why did we underestimate it by so much?
That's a great question. I mean, it's hard to predict. I mean, you try asking
But they-
them
they
and
don't
they
know how
can't
much it
even give
costs.
you an answer. So,
Okay.
I mean, kind of a wild guess.
We utilized what we had from the last election, but what we've also had each time is not every spot has multiple running. And so
Oh,
And even in the prior election, when there was only 3 candidates, it was much less per per zone than even what we had this time around.
it makes
So,
no sense, because it's a one ballot that has all the votes on it. Like, how is that everybody gets billed something? Because everybody that ran, you know, whether it's a legislative office, a city council, president of the US.
Yeah, shit.
All of that had to go in to pay something, and we only ran 3 seats at 600.
Yeah, 3 seats in the major AA.
And then zone 7 that was opted out, that was 2,300.
Mm.
So now when
So
you
I
do
only
that
cost
next
23.
month, it's a little easier to stomach, maybe.
Wow.
Don't get a wealth of knowledge.
Gotta wait for you, Eric.
I think I blocked it out.
Just one thing for next month.
So like when people have these campaigns, are other people like raising money in
Yeah.
campaigns, so they pay for that?
No, those are private
No,
funds. Those are all private.
You're
That's all
paying, your
individual.
taxpayer dollars are paying to actually run the election. You're not paying for their campaign.
Hmm.
That's an additional expense.
Yeah, it's not good.
There's a lot of money that goes into the election.
We're in the wrong business.
So,
Price of democracy.
Hmm.
That's what it is.
Fortunately,
yeah,
What it is.
absolutely, yeah.
I don't know how other healthcare boards afford that sometimes. They don't have the resources.
Well, it's because they don't get charged. They see our money and they say, oh, let's charge them that
It might be some factor there, who knows?
Ah, so, may I quote you, Linda?
Uh-oh, let's get her, hold on a second, Linda. Go ahead.
Linda, can I quote you?
Sure, well, sure, this is the reason why it's so expensive.
Larger populations in the districts equal higher costs.
So it's population based and registered voter base. So when you look at, the defined healthcare district areas compared to like one city and the number of registered voters, like for example, La Quinta has population of 41,000, but 21,000 or 25,000 are registered to vote. So the cost is based on the 25. So if you look at adding up all your districts in each of the areas, that's what kicks it up.
Well, I'd like to see the numbers.
That's based on the registered voters, right?
Correct. Yes.
Our
Yep.
districts are, fairly equal in population size, but the registered voter part of it could vary between the zones or the
This
districts.
time, first time we had an election when we had all 7 zones, that'd be why too.
And GC had that breakdown for us of all the registered voters. So that means it's increases then. Well, the population of ours increased also.
Yeah.
So example of like the assembly districts, senate districts, Congress, those are more expensive because they cover a larger geographic territory of registered voters.
But it is interesting, I mean, when you think of, so that, like the major AA, you would think since that included the entire district,
Yes,
that would be
a large chunk.
then probably like however many times more than the individual zone or district.
Mhm.
Correct.
That's interesting because the zones for the directors were say roughly 150,000 and the major AA was 240 some thousand, I think.
And they charge you for both of those.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
should have
so there
billed
were-
a tenant for that.
Shared expense.
You can take it out of the 650 million you're getting. Betty.
We tried.
I know.
Okay, that's it.
Was that all the financials?
Yeah, that's all I had to note.
The motion.
Yeah, we make a motion to,
I'll move approval.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Is there any
Oh,
public
yeah,
comment?
sorry, any more public comments?
No, Linda doesn't have her hand raised.
Okay. Board comments.
She going?
Aye.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Got it. Other matters.
I am going to recuse myself from this part of the conversation, and if you would call me when you are done. We leave you in the company that I said, a person that is very smart and
Okay.
that I hope you treat him well.
Grant payments, we missed that one.
No, they were all- they were-
And we talked about the $1 million from Johnson.
Oh,
I think that was the only.
That's the last item.
The first item that we have on
Hold
here,
hold on one second.
Don't blow secrets.
All right,
Wait a minute, then you.
okay.
All right, so the first item that we have noted here is an addendum number 5 for NPO centric. This is item I asked Donna to provide a little more feedback on.
Sure. For your
Yeah, we
edification.
did.
So we entered into a contract with NPO Centric, which is a division of Regional Arts Support Foundation, which is why we let that conflict of interest. And NPO Centric does capacity building for nonprofits. They offer grant writing tips and all kinds of tips. And so they're the experts in this. They have a stable of consultants. So we have identified maybe one of our nonprofits or some nonprofits that might need some technical assistance and capacity building support. Am I in the wrong one?
I'm sorry, yeah, we're doing the RBA one first.
Oh, we're doing the RBA one. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so it's still through MPO centric. RBA, results-based accountability, is what, you're familiar with that with people. So Megan Kane and Gracie Montano have both been trained in RBA. And we have retained Stephanie Miner, who works for RAP/MPO Centric to assist our organization with results-based accountability. Helped us set it up with dashboards. Now, this one is more for the implementation of RBA. And it's more on an as-needed basis to help us maybe if we need it for data walks or other kinds of technical assistance when we're implementing the RBA with our grants or their RFPs. So this is just extending the contract for another until the end of December with no money. And yes, extra money.
No, not on this one. This
Not on
one's,
this one?
this
This
utilizes
was
the
left
same,
over. Okay, yeah,
same value as we had previously. but
yeah.
Good. I had read through it before. Thank you for the background. So we approved them for looks like 160 hours of work. It's fair. Like $300 an hour, is that pretty reasonable for accounting? I mean, for consulting services? I don't know what they cost.
We were paying MPO Centric, their cadre of consultants, $200 an hour. Our request, when we get to the next one, they're requesting they're going for like $225, but 300 is sort of.
Seems like a lot. I don't know how that goes in across the month. I don't know what you're.
Not to exceed what,
$48,000, it looks like.
40,000?
40.
Yeah.
48.
That was the,
And it's on an
Consulting work, that's
as
pretty-
needed basis, so if we don't utilize it
Yeah.
for maybe, a couple hours
Yeah,
here or there.
do we have any feedback from the groups they're supporting?
Or from you or you?
Well, this is a different one, Arthur.
It's the results-based.
Yeah, this is results-based accountability. This is specifically working with our team, our program.
Okay,
but mainly
okay.
Megan and Gracie, who are certified.
Oh, yeah.
RBA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
And it keeps us from hiring somebody full-time to do it, right? They kind of come in and fill that service thing.
well, this training will allow, we won't need her anymore because Gracie and Megan are pretty well
They'll be our new
versed in
consultants.
that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll be able to
Performance
phase that.
measures.
Oh,
and-
good.
Yeah.
That's good. So it's been a training education.
Yeah,
I just like to have
exactly.
justification as to why. So they're really getting an education in all of this.
Yes.
So it's not like, hey, we're just paying for your service. You're actually educating. So that's a huge value. I just.
I mean, they took the course, got certified, but then it's actually implemented.
You have to have somebody overseeing that. That's great.
Yeah. It's just,
That'll be implemented on all of our
already has been.
groups now.
Yeah. All of our grants. All have performance measures and.
That's.
I did want to note that the 48,000 was the original dollar
Yeah,
value,
yeah.
but we have had a couple extensions.
saw the
since then,
extensions.
So 116,400 is the current not to exceed, and we have about 12,000 left of that.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the motion.
Yeah, so we can take action on that, I guess.
All in
I
favor?
guess we'll
Aye.
make yeah, any public, yeah.
Make motion.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Aye, second.
Well, you can first, I'll second. And then any public comments on that?
No, on this one.
Do you have any other comments? You guys, yeah, good discussion. Yeah, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's over the board.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second one is the capacity building technical assistance. So as I mentioned, these are for our grantees. So we would maybe identify some grantees that really need some help in technical assistance, with grant writing, helping to do fiscal management, board governance. We would then look at what the consultants that RV, Ecocentric has, they would actually go and meet with the grant, the nonprofit, and assess what they really need some work on. And so, they're hired like for X number of hours, they produce a report, work with the grantees, and then we get that report. And, the next time we do work with our grantees as well, we do reference that report. So are you working on the governance? Are you working, how are you doing on your fundraising?
Good.
Yeah, so we're pleased with the consultants.
It offloads a lot and it
As
also.
well, how many George you have consultants now?
It's probably a good question for Tally. I think she's got 20 or 30 consultants.
Yeah.
And
Quite a-
I know she's adding quite a few every day.
Quite a group with,
Yeah.
extensive experience.
They just kind of partner with a nonprofit that you guys identify them as needing help and say, hey, you guys need to get some documentation together before we move forward with the grants and they.
Yeah, we've had that, yes, we've had, where we had some people come in for a mini grant and they were all of those, their accounting was in a notebook. Would you like to learn, would you say?
We need you to do it, because we're
Yeah.
gonna support you, so, I mean, is that
Yeah.
kind of it? It's like, hey, we actually need you to do this properly. That's great. Most nonprofits start with a good idea and very low structure, and so you kind of build the structure for them. It's going above and beyond.
Now
We
is
don't-
my question relevant?
Yes,
Do we have we had any feedback from
oh, yeah.
groups that have used them?
Yes, yes. In fact, I think when we get the next report together, we will have some feedback, some testimonials, if you will. Pegasus Writing Academy was just a,
Yeah, so they,
above and beyond.
so we're getting a bang for a
Yes,
buck.
test, we are. Yeah,
Okay,
we're
good.
building up our grantees. So, and the good thing is helping them, so they're not totally relying on us all the time for fundraising, for money.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
How to write grants, on
it's a
how to
good thing.
fundraise, yeah.
It's a good thing to support for the community.
But in this instance, Chris, I don't know, did you want to talk about?
Yeah, but, so how much do we have dollar wise in there?
142,000.
And how much is remaining?
Oh.
143 is remaining.
250 was the original.
Oh, that's what-
value,
that's-
about
okay.
142.
Okay, so this is a, no cost extension, so we will not exceed the total amount, but we did just get notice from George yesterday or today that the hourly billing rate will increase from 200 an hour to 225 an hour. So total cost to us will not change, but we would like to request approval of the extension. And then we'll have those rates included for the board approval.
So moved.
Second. Any public comments?
That makes
No.
people talk faster.
Yeah.
Did George, did you want to add anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, we're really excited about this program, and I'm just finishing up my first year with Brad, and one of the great things about this is now with me on board as a CPA, I'm helping them be able to look at consultants that have the experience to work on the financial aspect, because a lot of what we've done in the past has really been focused on doing donor development, grant writing, fundraising, the board structure. So one of the things we've done this past year and going moving forward is doing some focus on the financial development aspect so that they know how to develop the skills to manage the financials on top of that, because you can have a great cause, but if you can't manage the funds, then it's not gonna work. And so we're excited that's gonna be part of what we're doing going forward. This is looking at those consultants as well.
Did you just give a workshop on working with grant management on, looking
Yeah,
at the
just did
budget,
one
stick with your
on
line item that
functional
you're looking for?
expenses.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got another one that's coming up in April. That's one of our leadership ones that we'll talk about board responsibility for financials. And then in May, I'm going to do one on 990 preparation,
Okay.
which is a big one for a lot of organizations because the 990s can be really complex and
Yeah,
convoluted.
yeah.
Put maybe a quick one-page summary together of this idea of capacity building and what it means just as a talking points for us. I like to be able to, I think what you defined there was really good, but it really helps us speak to what we spend the money on. And, just like we kind of laid out for the last project about it being about educating our team about how we do that. I mean, that totally changes the phrase. Rather than just hiring these consultants for capacity building, like you're actually going out and training and enhancing these nonprofits to make them functional actual organizations, which a lot of them have a lot of passion, but they have no function.
Exactly.
So if you could do that, that would just be something I would like to see. When or if I do get questions, we get questions to the board, we can say, this is, and for you, this is how we're being served. You kind of answered it well. I wouldn't have been able to phrase it quite as well, but I would like to see that, then I can reference it. I don't know how you feel about that, Arthur, but it's always nice when you have a
Sure.
consultant about why. we use them. So, okay. Thank you for the public comment. Any other public comments? I'll make them,
So moved.
Yeah, we already seconded, so we just have to, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's contact Lenny. Mm.
Yeah, I guess we need it for committee member comments then. Okay,
As long as we have a little pause in the action, have we had any interest in volunteers joining our committees yet?
Well, we still need to get the policy approved.
Or we haven't, so it's still in hibernation, okay.
Still in the process.
Okay.
I have one person that may be interested, serves on the JFK Foundation or that, one of the foundations out here that's education based, has a big financial background. They're in the
There she is.
public stuff. Yeah, once that policy is done, we'll be able to kind of put it
Okay.
out.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good guy.
The two elements.
All right, we're just gonna take committee member comments.
Okay. My comment is on the website. I wanted to know, is there a way that our website can provide a little bit more information about where to go through for the new use program, where it used to be able, the menu, you click on menu. And you go to agendas and documents. And I did try to click on the link, the one below where it says March, and it didn't work.
All board and committee meeting agendas prior to March twenty
So
twenty-four
you
are
click on
accessible.
that?
Because you're already on the page.
Oh, okay, maybe that's why it didn't work then.
At here, yeah, at agendas dash documents. So you're already on the page, so it's gonna keep you.
So
Or
originally
I
I
could
was
change-
gonna ask if something like that could be created, but then when I saw it earlier, I said, oh, it is or something that's very noticeable, but I clicked on the thing and it didn't work, but okay.
Or I
that's
can
fine.
add on there, or we rather can add, on this page or something like that.
Is there a way that we could, because I don't know that people are programmed to look at the margin information there now to go to the diligent after March. Is there a way that we can add some kind of a header to that?
I can ask Will.
Yeah.
When you go on the mobile device, you don't see the agendas, this pops up.
Mm.
So you can't help but to see it
Okay,
also.
oh, okay, even better, okay, okay.
But sure, I can speak to, Will about, adding a header.
Because I think people, if they're not programmed to look to the margin.
Mhm.
I don't know why, I mean, it's big blue, but maybe, okay.
Okay.
And then maybe we can also have Wilson have a constant contact.
That was it, thank you.
Any other comments? Any comments from you guys? All right, I'll adjourn this meeting at, what time is it here? At 3:48 PM. And we're gonna move over straight into the